truth, didn't even do that. Sorry about
We
that.
can do after we chant. Let's chant a little bit.
Okay, sure. Let's do that.
Is that okay? I'm just scrolling down because I'm not going to read from a book. I'm going to read from one of Prabhupada's poems. There it is. So you already been chanting Hare Krishna, right? It's okay. We do the same song, same tune. Krishna Prestaya Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Srimate Bhakti put a long time ago. I was just watching him. That was exciting. You have an actual Mridanga player here.
Oh, we have
They don't have that everywhere.
very talented musicians in Indiana. Even Jagannath, who you see over here, he's also a very nice Mridanga player.
This Jagannath.
Yeah, this is
Plays good
Jagannath.
kartals.
Yeah, he's of course a great kartal player. Both of them are wonderful singers. And you have Acharya out here, who's very good harmonium player, great kirtanier. We have quite a few harmonium
I want
players.
to see how good he is. Jagannath, let me see your.
You
Acharya, is that it?
No, this is Acharya. On the right.
What is your name?
Pankaj.
Pankaj, let me
Yeah.
see your fingers. You were playing harmonium when it came
Yeah.
in, right?
It's not, I don't know.
How come mine are purple?
I don't know what happened. Mine is alright.
You pump in a different place than I do.
Maybe,
Is
yeah.
this is a new harmonium?
Oh.
No, this
this
is
is,
1997 harmonium.
I was pumping from the outside, maybe.
From just on the wood, huh?
Uh,
Maybe there's some paper towel.
Yeah.
Otherwise I can wipe it on your door.
His Grace Anuttama Prabhu is the Minister of Communications and a governing body commissioner of ISKCON. In fact, he's the GBC, the governing body commissioner of our zone, in which Indiana is there. He formerly served as the chairperson of the GBC. He travels very widely and is very active in multiple social initiatives, both inside and within and outside of ISKCON. He serves on the Board of Religions for Peace, USA, and the Advisory Board of the Religious Freedom Institute. He's also convener of the Vaishnav Christian and Vaishnava Muslim dialogues in the United States and India. And he currently resides in Rockville, Maryland, along with his significant other, Her Grace Rukmini Devi Dasi. I have known, or at least been in association with Anuttama Prabhu for quite some time right now, and he's got a killer sense of humor. He really does, and he's exceptionally sharp in his wit as well as his delivery. He's also extremely well versed in spiritual literature. So this is our opportunity to have some nice, intimate, personal association of Prabhu, but please let us first welcome him by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we said earlier, maybe we can answer this question here. I'm going to read the first line of what I'm reading here from some Shastric source or something written by some Acharya in our line. So you tell me where you think it's from. Pandit Srivas is not allowed to participate because he's been around too long. He would know the answer to all the questions. Ready? Everybody ready? My dear Lord Krishna, you were so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. Raise your hand if you think you know where that's from. Don't blurt it out. Okay, where do you think it's from?
Krishna.
Which of Krishna's servants wrote the poem, though? Everything comes from Krishna. All knowledge comes from Krishna. That was the right answer. Yes, but which of his servants spoke this or wrote this?
Prabhupada's arrival.
Okay, let's stick with Prabhupada first. That's right. And when did he speak this? Or write this?
On his arrival, like as he looked at the Boston Harbor.
Good, you answered all the questions. As he's arriving in the Boston Harbor for the first time. Right? So we'll read more of it. So he says, I do not why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Interesting, huh? Why would you bring me to this terrible place? So many people come to America and think in terms of, right, the land of opportunity. Prabhupada said this is a terrible place. Then he explains why he thinks it's a terrible place. Most of the population here is covered by the modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. So there's 15 stanzas, so we read the first 3. He says, but I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. Can we try? I don't have it written in the book. Maybe just try to see if we can not lose it. Just try to pass it down. So you read number 5. Let me read one and pass it around.
How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy, so that I will be able to convince them about your message.
So 6, huh?
6 numbers.
All living entities have come under the control of illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will they can also be released from the clutches of illusion.
By your will they can be released.
I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message.
The words of the Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives them with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. Number 9.
He will become liberated from the influence of the moods of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear.
10.
Okay. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own.
Somehow or the other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like.
$13.
12.
O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding.
Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life.
O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, most insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Boston, 18 September 1965. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
It's entitled the Markine Bhagavad Dharma. So, as we heard, because some of you knew, so this is it's actually written in Bengali, I think, and then this is the English translation. So this is Prabhupada's, we can just imagine, Prabhupada is 70 years of age. He's just withstood the trip on a cargo ship across the Atlantic Ocean, described 2 heart attacks. On the way, he has no financial backing. You know, all of you, most of you came here, right? You can just imagine. No financial backing, no permanent or even semi-permanent place to stay. The place you're going to, you've never even met the people before. You have no institutional backing, and you've been asked by your Guru Maharaj decades previous to please try to share this message of Krishna. There was an event, go forward 50 some years, more than 50 years after this, there was an event Harvard University Divinity School, the Center for the Study of World Religions. A few years ago, I mentioned this in the conventions this last night or 2 nights ago. And there was the keynote address was offered by Professor Tom Hopkins. And he was explaining, you can look online if you Google ISKCON 50th Anniversary Harvard, there's a 17-minute video. And this Professor Tom Hopkins he was explaining that he was talking about Prabhupada's contributions, and he explained that if we think of Prabhupada, he said, I'm a historian. Historians look for comparisons. He said, so if I look into Prabhupada's, his achievements, and try to compare them to others in history, so it's very hard to find any comparison. I could only find 2 people in history. Jesus Christ, we've heard of him, right? And Muhammad, we've heard of him. He's not so popular in this part of the world, but some parts of the world, everybody knows Muhammad. Some parts of the world, everybody knows Jesus Christ. So Tom Hopkins was saying, but actually, that's not a fair comparison. Because Jesus Christ was teaching, preaching, started his movement, so to speak, in his own country, using his own language, his own culture, and had people his own age to help him. So Muhammad was in his own country, his own culture, his own language. He had his friends and family to help him. So Prabhupada was a single person in a different country at an elderly age. He didn't know anybody in a completely foreign culture. So when we read this, we get a sense, because now we kind of look back. I mean, like, you know, you're here in Indiana and you've started your nice center, which kind of reminded me of Prabhupada in 26th Ave was start later, after this poem was written about a year later, with a very humble start. But now, you know, we think in terms of, some of you mentioned, you know, New Vrindavan, you've been to Bhaktivinoda Manor, you've both been to Pune, and you've seen some big temples. Maybe you've also seen some big ISKCON temples. You mentioned Hawaii and Laguna Beach and so many places. And, you know, you go back to India and ISKCON's a big name. It's a big name because of this person. You know, in the UK, ISKCON highly respected, ISKCON's well known. In America, not as much, but becoming more so. But at the time Prabhupada wrote this, as he mentions, you're so kind on this useless soul, I don't know why you brought me here. The chances of his being successful are practically nil, really, from an earthly point of view. He's 70 years old. Even his visas for just, I think, 2-3 months, something like that. It's not like he's been invited to Harvard or Indiana University of Indiana to like go teach at the religion department. He had 40 rupees with him, which wasn't a lot, but it was even less because you couldn't convert rupees. So he had no money. He sold the captain, ship, Captain Pandey, he sold him a set of his Bhagavatams. That was the one thing he brought with him. He had his trunk, I think 3 trunks of Bhagavatams. And, or maybe trunk, I have to go back and check, with the 3 volumes from the first canto. And he sold him a set of books, I think it was $16, something like that. So he got off the ship with $16. And he describes, in the Leela Amritas noted that when he came off the ship, the Jaladuta, because they landed in Boston, and he got off and he spent part of the day with the captain walking around so you get a sense of what's America. And then they got back on, their final destination was New York, so I think the next day they landed in New York. And Prabhupada describes when he walked off the ship, he said he didn't know whether to turn left or right. He had no destination. He was on his way to Butler, we know. And what do they call it? Traveler's Aid had arranged someone to meet him there, so they found him and they put him on a bus. And then he took the bus to Butler, and then when he got to Butler, was it Mr. Agarwal, right? Sally and Gopal Agarwal, right? Mr. Agarwal met him at night in his Volkswagen bus, drove him back to Butler. He slept on a couch like this first night in America, because then the next day they took him to the YMCA and rented a room for him for a few weeks while we were there. That's how it started. And then you think, okay, well, you know, he lived for 100 years. He had a long time to develop his institution, right? No, he was 70. He had about 11 years. And again, okay, well, he must have somehow miraculously had fantastic result from day one. there was no miraculous result from day one. He stayed with the Agarwals and subscribed to get a sense of how things were working in America. Sally would invite her friends over. She took him to Pittsburgh and spoke to some reporters from the Pittsburgh newspaper. She thought it would be quite a news item, and actually she admits that it was partly because she didn't want all of her friends and people to wonder who's the strange man in the orange robes walking up and down the street. She said, well, let's get something in the paper. So she went to Pittsburgh, and they could see no particularly interesting angle to this story that this man was landed and was, this monk was there. But then she went to the Butler Eagle, the small little paper in the small town of Butler, and then they did a story. That was the first media coverage of Prabhupada. They took a picture of him holding his book against the wallpaper. It was quite an interesting photo. That was the beginning of Prabhupada's teaching in America. And from there he went to New York after just about a month or so, and in New York City struggled like anything. He had a place with Dr. Mishra. And you can just imagine, okay, now he's in a big city, now he can preach. But Dr. Mishra was not of our line. He was of the impersonalist school. And he didn't like Prabhupada to speak, because Prabhupada would talk about Krishna and about we're all servants of Krishna. And meanwhile, this Dr. Mishra is teaching his students, no, we're all supposed to merge into the oneness of God. So he didn't even want Prabhupada to speak. Sometimes he would say, now Swamiji will sing us a song. So he had a little foothold, he had a place to stay, that was it. Well, it's been imagine, he's 70, he's been waiting his whole lifetime to come somewhere else to preach. He tried in India, that's a whole other chapter, so many difficulties were there. He finally gets to America, and he's living in the office, was this his home office, kind of moved from place to, and he can't speak. Imagine the level of frustration. And Prabhupada had already had a couple of heart attacks. He doesn't know how much time he's got left. So he's praying, Krishna, I don't know why you brought me here. These people, they don't want to hear your message. Only by your power will it have any kind of impact upon them. And then he struggled, right? He was after Dr. Mishra's place. Then then from there he went to the Bowery. When he was on the Bowery, because it was the era where so many young people were experimenting with drugs, he started having people come, and then he had some contact with a young person at the Paradox restaurant. Kind of the word spread, there's this Swami. So then he's staying at this Bowery loft, and the young man he was staying with like OD'd, overdosed on his drugs or something, went a little crazy, and actually threatened Prabhupada. He had to run down the stairs just to get away. And again, he's homeless. He's, where does he go? These are the kind of difficulties that he had. I mean, most of us wouldn't have even tried it. And if you tried it, after a few days, we would have gone home. And we definitely wouldn't go home. When your so-called roommate chases you out of your house, you would have gone home. And when you realized how tough it was, right? But he was determined because it was instruction given by his spiritual master. So when we read these beautiful prayers, it's important for us to kind of remember, as Prabhupada says, I'm simply praying for your mercy. For what? So that I can be happy, so that I can become famous, so that I can become successful, so I can get out of this crazy place as soon as possible. That's what most people pray for. Dear Krishna, I don't know why you brought me here. Get me out of here as quick as possible. That's not what he prayed for. He prayed somehow or other. Sometimes devotees that work in the communications ministry, we call this the communicator's prayer. Because he says again and again, I'll just reread some of this. They have no taste for the message, right? Communication. How do you communicate the message? I do not know how they will understand it. Then he says, it's text 5, how will I convince them about your message? And then he says, text 7, only by your mercy, by your desire will they be able to understand your message. 8, he says, only if they hear properly will they be able to understand your message. He goes many, many, many times he talks about how this message. So Prabhupada came with this message against all odds, and it had a tremendous impact. And in this, Thomas Hopkins, go back to his remarks at the 50th anniversary, he was saying, well, how is ISKCON doing after 50 years? He said, we're going to have a conference we're talking about for 3 days. But he said, if you look back, Islam or Christianity, after 50 years, we're having, he said, I don't know the history so well, but he said, having major problems compared to, ISKCON definitely has problems. I'm the GBC, I can talk all night about problems we have. But relatively speaking, phenomenal success. Go to Russia, there's Hare Krishna devotees. Unfortunately, these days, because of the world situation, I can't go to Russia anymore. I've been there a few times. I couldn't go now. You have an Ukrainian passport, you can't go to Russia. There's devotees in Lebanon. There's devotees in Israel. There's devotees in Kuwait. There's devotees in South Africa. There's devotees in East Africa. There's devotees in West Africa. There's devotees in Pakistan. Devotees in Indonesia and Bali. And as you mentioned, Africa, all over the United States and Canada, Mexico, South America, all over Europe, some beautiful place, Bhaktivinoda Manor. It's all because of Prabhupada. Because of the vision and the intense desire that he had to actually assist us. We were reading last night in the Sri Ishopanishad, Prabhupada comments in his purport that let's use the word miseries in the material world, or the difficulties in the material world. He says Krishna wants to get us out of here and back to the spiritual, even more than we can desire. Even more than we do, he says. So this is the nature we understand of Krishna, that he actually, like this beautiful painting of Krishna in the Ras Leela. And Krishna actually has manifested us. We have a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's described that we're, probably use the term sometimes, we're loitering. Like sometimes a child becomes disconnected with their family, they're loitering in the streets, going place to place, trying to find a little shelter, a little food. And as we know, generally children in that circumstance, they're terribly exploited and suffer in so many ways. We're like that. Described, we're like Krishna's children. Every tradition, not every, but certainly that's there. Islam talks about we're all servants of God, which we teach, of course, and Christianity talks about we're the children of God, and we also say children of God, servants of God. So we all have this relationship with Krishna, and people are really loitering in the street. They're going from place to place to place. Like I think I drove by, there's a big gambling casino on the freeway. Do we drive by some gambling?
Horseshoe.
Yeah, Horseshoe. Right. That's because they used to have something called Lucky Horseshoe. I don't know how a horseshoe became lucky. I don't know the history. So you go there, you get lucky. That's what they say. But everybody loses their money there. And they actually prey on people. I know that I've read some things that, like let's say Las Vegas, and they probably do something similar to that here. In Las Vegas, which is the first place in North America really to have big gambling, they keep track of all their people, even before all the software and things like that. They know who lost a lot of money, and they keep track of them, and they have their phone number, and they have their address, and they call them. And they call them up, say, you haven't been here a while. Why don't you come back? Because we'd really like to see you. So, we know you have fun here. And we'd like to send you a plane ticket. And we'd like to put you up for the weekend. We'll pay for the hotel, we'll pay for your food, we'll pay for your plane ticket. Because they know if they invest $1,000 in getting you there, historically you're going to lose $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. So they prey on people. But they have big signs, come enjoy the gambling casino. And then I know that I saw some of the billboards, a big sign, come to Horseshoe or whatever, maybe another one. And then way down at the bottom, if you look, by law, they have to publish the name, what you do if you become addicted to gambling. And you can be sure that was a big fight to get that approved, because the gambling people, they don't want that anywhere. So they make it very, very small. Just like on the way to India, a few times I've flown, because I live in the East Coast, so a lot of times fly like Etihad or Qatar, so they always land in some of the Middle Eastern countries, and you walk around during the layover, and more so than here, huge signs on the cigarette stands, like they're this big, and they're even more blunt. Here they have, what do they say, like cigarettes cause cancer. There it's like, this can kill you, and big letters, big signs, and the people are standing in line to buy it. And you're just watching like, what's going on here? So, therefore Krishna, he wants to get us out of this place, but like Krishna's described, he's the all-attractive person. He's the supreme opulent person. He's the all-knowing person. He has an intimate relationship with each and every one of us. He's the source of us. Prabhupada describes that our connection with Krishna is like that of a child with its mother. He actually describes when we're chanting japa, we should chant like a child crying for its mother. You know, what a beautiful concept. So that's our original relationship with Krishna. And we've forgotten that, so we're here in this world looking for everything except the most beautiful person. We don't want anything to do with him. Seeking everything except the most opulent person. The most opulent person walks in, no, I don't want to. Said the most loving person, no, stay away. The person who has the most extraordinary, you could say, living quarters. No, I don't want to go to your place. Has the most wonderful experiences in relationship with unlimited number of other beings. No, I don't want to go there. And then we wonder, how come we're not happy? Isn't it? It's kind of foolish. And of course, in this world, this is where, like Prabhupada mentions one verse, under the control of the illusory energy, people are thinking themselves happy. Ever visit anyone in a hospital? Or like even sometimes like an old folks home or something like that? If you meet somebody, you go to see somebody in a hospital, you say, how are you? What do they answer? I'm fine. You say, well, if you're fine, what are you doing here? Is it? And what are all those tubes in you for? And what are those bells going off? You know? And why are all those people crying next door? Because their person was fine too. It's not fine. It's not. That's why it's described the guru as heavy. You know, because they're like trying to kind of wake us up. You wanted me to tell a joke. I'll tell a joke. I haven't told this one yet. So there was some. On the side of the road there was a church, and there were some people standing outside with big signs, turn back now before it's too late. So a car of people drives by. They look at the people with the sign, they laugh, ha ha ha, religious fanatics, turn back now, right? What do they know, you know? So they drive around the corner, you hear a big crash. The one man holding the signs turns to the other one and says, do you think we should get another sign that just says the bridge is out? So the warning is there, but the message isn't getting across. People get that the message is there, you know, big gambling thing. But then you read in the paper, you read all the time. It happens all the time. Some child died because their mother or father was inside, and they left them in the play for, you know, or they arrested the father and the mother because they found the child in the car, locked in the car for 10-12 hours while they were inside gambling. Happens all the time. I mean, it's not like every day, but I've seen things like that probably a dozen times. Or like today, I'm driving on the road. I don't know if, because we were close, I don't know if you saw too. Maybe it was before I got to Indianapolis. I think it was Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You're driving down the road and the car goes by with like very loud muffler. They don't always have that. But you see them going down the road, weaving in a crowded traffic, in and out of traffic. And you know, sometimes some of those cars he's missing by, 3 feet, 4 feet. Very dangerous. And I just said a prayer. I said, please, Krishna, if he's so foolish to kill himself, please don't let him take anybody with him.
Yeah.
You know? If you want to take such a chance with your life, why do you take a chance with everybody else's life? So, we're meant to think about these things, right? And even the Greek philosophers, maybe it was Socrates, somebody else, they said, an unexamined life is not worth leading. If you don't stop and think about, why am I here, where am I going, what's happening with this? Well, it's not, according to deep philosophers, it's not worth leading. So we're meant to ask questions like, well, this person, why are they taking such a chance with their life? Is that a sign of their happiness? Maybe showing up to some friends, but are they doing it because they're happy? Because they want to extend that life? No, they're unhappy, so they have to increase the thrill level, increase the intensity of it. It's like with drugs. People, they smoke cigarettes, a little caffeine gives you a little bit of a intense feeling, but that's not enough. So then, okay, maybe try some alcohol, get intense feeling. That's not enough. It doesn't always happen, but too often, people intensify. It's not sufficient, so more and more and more. And then, like we know, like in this country, I don't know the percentage, I could look it up quick. The percentage of people suffering from alcoholism in this country is huge. I think something like 35,000 people a year die in car accidents, and a very big percentage of that is because there's alcohol involved. And now they have to have big signs, right? Driving stoned is the same as driving drunk. Because everybody knows, if you're a drunk driver, they'll lose your life. Maybe you get killed, but at least, if the police, if there's any left, you don't see them many these days. If they pull you over, they arrest you, you lose your driver's license, you go to jail. So now they have to tell people, oh, you had another drug. There's a whole other conversation. But so then these prayers, we get the sense of Prabhupada, who's seeing the foolishness of this materialistic society, is praying to Krishna, please give me the potency, the insight, give me your mercy so I can make my words, your words, because it's Krishna teaching, as you said, it's coming from Krishna, enter people's hearts. So that's what we want to do. That's why we're chanting, because it helps to purify our hearts, to soften our hearts, to help us make the right choices. Because, and I'll end with this, ultimately the Vaishnava philosophy teaches, as in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And then he said, what do you want to do? Your choice. You make up your own mind. Wasn't that he said, okay, go to hell or else go to heaven or go to hell or whatever, and this is what you have to do. No, he gave him I actually turned on the radio yesterday. I was driving somewhere out here. Came across some Christian radio station. Someone was giving a sermon. I listened to it for a few minutes. I was very surprised because he was also talking about choice. Of course, they have a different understanding. You kind of get one lifetime of choices. We say there's more choices. But he was saying we have to choose Krishna. So we live in a world, everybody's trying to say choose anything but Krishna. Generally, not everybody. There's some nice spiritual or religious people. But generally they're saying, don't choose Krishna. Seek something else. But devotees in association of hearing from Prabhupada and each other's association in the scripture, we begin to see through the illusion a little bit. And a lot of people, they begin to see through the illusion and they say, don't show me. I don't want to see through the illusion. I don't want, because I want this thing and then that thing and this thing. So you point out, someone would say, well, I want to make a lot of money. So you say, well, there was, in COVID time, I saw I heard an interview with a young woman whose father was a billionaire, I believe in Brazil. In that first wave of COVID, they didn't know how to treat people and they were experimenting with different things. And he was a billionaire. And he died from COVID. And his daughter said, adult daughter, but she said, my father has $1 billion and he died because all of his money could not buy him one more breath of air. Really powerful that she had that realization. So, we can kind of think like that, we make ourselves comfortable here, but are we guaranteed that crazy guy I saw on the highway is not going to come by and flip his car on the side of us? Just like now on the radio, listen, as we pulled and turned on the weather, it says, bright and sunny tomorrow, 80 degrees. Here, it's not bright and sunny and 80 degrees in Fort Myers, Florida, or Tampa, Florida, or North Carolina. I mean, Krishna sends us these messages, right? I read something just yesterday, because I work in communications, so I kind of follow what's going on in the world. And some government official said it's not just media speaking or hyping. There are whole towns in North Carolina that cease to exist. It was not like it took out every fourth house and there's still a road and there's a bank, and they said the town is gone. So that's pretty drastic, but the warning that we get in the Bhagavad Gita is that everything here, it's temporary. It's going to be here for a short time. That's going to go. So we have very valuable time, which is to connect with Krishna, to reawaken our Krishna consciousness, and therefore our acharyas, the great teachers, and of course Krishna in the Gita explains we should try to use all of our time carefully. Don't waste our time. I also am not very good at my time management. We should try to use our time carefully, because we really don't know how much time we have left. We really don't know. So whatever we have, like that kid driving on the road, man, I assume he's some kid, young male, probably. I'm sure he's male. Females aren't that stupid. But he's, whatever he was, he doesn't have that much time left. He doesn't know how much time he's got left. And if he knew, maybe he'd use it more wisely. So we should think like that too. And we should feel a really deep sense of gratitude that Prabhu was so kind, put up with so much to give us these choices and these opportunities. So maybe I can stop there. It's nice to be with a small, intimate group of devotees. Any questions or comments or thoughts?
We had quite an audience online as well.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're holding that funny thing.
Yeah.
I thought you were just exercising.
No. That too.
That too. Very good. Very good. Any thoughts or any reflections at all on Prabhupada's prayers or anything? Yes, Prabhu.
So, like on a personal level, how did you get connected with Srila Prabhupada?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the secret of being so committed, that you're giving your life to Prabhupada?
I so far gave my life. I'm on the, as Prabhu would sometimes say, the fag end of life. I'm not like 30 going on. I'm giving, it's almost getting close to being extinguished. Although I could still make stupid mistakes if I'm not careful. So a little bit my story asking about. My family was not at all religious. It was kind of a materialistic Christian family in the sense Christmas was a big deal. We had not one but 2 Christmas trees, and we spent a lot of, my exposure to religion was my father would play religious music on the homes they call the hi-fi in those days. I don't know what that stands for, but the stereo.
Yeah.
He liked Tennessee Ernie Ford, which was, remember that name, Tennessee Ernie Ford?
Yeah.
I don't know why he liked the guy, but somehow on Sunday morning he always played. We never went to church except until I started going. So it was a very kind of a secular upbringing. Then I went to camp as this boy, and I went to a church camp just because my mother found this camp. So we used to go to church, which I never went to. So that was like, okay, didn't really have much of an impression on me. I do remember when I was I think I was still not a counselor. They asked some kids to draw some things about their concept of God, and then I remember one of the other campers drew a picture of the devil had the rope around his neck and he was dragging him. And it didn't sit with me. It's like, it seemed like you're really giving up your sense of responsibility to blame some other person for the problems you have. So I wasn't really impressed with religion at all. And then I went to high school in a similar mentality, and as a senior, getting ready to go out into the world, go to college and learn bigger things, I took a religion class because I signed up for an economics class. I still remember it well. And I went into the economics class, and I didn't like any of the kids in the economics class. And all my friends, I was senior year, I had a lot of close, they were in a religion class, so I thought, okay, what the heck, I just want to be with my friends, right? So in this religion class, we studied Hinduism and Buddhism and Islam and Christianity and Judaism. And I remember being particularly impressed with what we read about Buddhism, because Buddha made all kinds of statements like the real cause of suffering is desire, which I'd never heard anything like that before. Desire was what you had that motivated you to go shopping. That's what desire was. The idea that desire itself was just, a whole new way of looking at the world. We had Hare Krishna devotees came to our class. The teacher arranged that. And I remember some of them said they dropped out of college to become a Hare Krishna. That really shocked me because I thought, but when you go to college, you learn everything and you find everything and you're happy. Why would you give that up to be a Hare Krishna? We went to a synagogue and, had some different experiences. And then I went to college and there were some devotees. I would see them off and on. And I studied, this was in the early 70s. There was a lot of concern about the society really in trouble. The Vietnam War was kind of winding down, a lot of social unrest, a lot of concern about the inner cities and the racial strife, inequity. So I studied political science and social science, like how to make the world, this was interest, those things, how to make the world a better place. And then I remember, like, we would have somebody come and be the guest speaker one week on Thursday about how to solve urban problems. And then the next week somebody would come and say why the ideas we learned last week are completely wrong. And I was, so that was a little kind of strange. And meanwhile, I was trying to enjoy life, and that wasn't working out very well. And then at one point, so one thing kind of led to the next. I got involved in student politics. I got elected to the student council. It was actually the students and professors, the council of the university. I was at Michigan State. And we found out that the professors were rated by the students. This is before rateyourprofessor.com, which is online. This is way before that. So one of my friends, another student representative, stood up and asked, can the students see these ratings? And they said, no, you can't see these ratings. Why should you see these ratings? And there was about 30 out of 300 of us were students in this university, whatever they call it, Congress or something. And we were like, well, why can't we see those? We're the customers. You guys work for us. We're paying for your service. Why can't we see? So we spent the whole next year fighting to get, convincing enough professors. And it's on the front page of the student newspaper. It's a big university. In those days, had maybe 40,000 students. And at the end, the very last day of my sophomore year, we won. We won the vote that we would get a chance to see those forms. And the president of the university, his name was Clifton Wharton Jr. He went on to be the education secretary, I think, in Clinton's first term. He stood up and said, thank you very much. I'm going to take this into consideration. I'm going to turn it over to the College of Deans, which meant all the old fogies with no student representation, for their final decision. And we had no idea he had the power to do that. Nobody ever said he had the power to do that. It never came up in a whole year of discussions and negotiations. And I sat there thinking, if there's this much cheating at this level of interaction, there's no serious money here. There's no serious power. There's no real need for them to manipulate like this, and yet they did. If there's this much cheating, I'm definitely not going to get into politics. And we're not going to change the world by all these. And then I had one other professor, and I'll get to the Hare Krishna part, but this was the part that kind of made me open to the message. I had one professor, my favorite professor, Professor Zimmerman, and we were studying, some of you may know these, like Locke and Marx and Hobbes and Machiavelli even, and Socrates and Plato and all these great Western philosophers, how society should be organized. So after 2 years of writing 20, 30-page papers on each one of these, I went to my professor. I said, I'm just an undergraduate. As a 20-year-old person, for me to write a critique on Aristotle, who's been studied and revered for 2,000 years, is not really so significant. But the thing I've noticed, each one of these great philosophers, when you study their works, the first 15 or 30 pages, they state their theories, their assumptions. Marx says man is a nature in a class warfare. And based on that assumption, he's got the whole communist system built out, which is like pure genius. And Locke says, no, we're actually individuals roaming around in the wilderness, and we come to fight with each other over the resources. Therefore, we should enter into a social contract, kind of like where the modern Western idea comes in. So I asked him, I said, why? I said, what we should be doing, and we shouldn't be studying, write a paper. We should be studying the truth of the various philosophies. Which one is true? And he looked him in the eye and he said, we're not here to study truth. And I thought, I've been here for 2 years paying you to teach me these great, philosophies on how society can be organized so that I can give my life to try to make society better organized, to try to minimize the suffering and make more people happy. And you're telling me that we don't know if any of it's true? We're just studying for the sake of studying it? So then I quit. And I switched universities, and I studied a little while the hard sciences, and I found that I took, well, not hard. I took a course on economics. I was completely convinced they have no idea what they're talking about. That was my economics experience. And then I worked as a bartender, because first I needed money, but then it was kind of a great scene. And in the bar I worked in, at the end of the night, at 2 o'clock in the morning, there was ways that we could get free liquor. They all figured it out. The bosses didn't think we figured it out, but we figured it out. So at 2 o'clock it was like free liquor, and there were pool tables upstairs, and foosball was big then. Pool tables and foosballs, and the guy that ran the kitchen would go in the kitchen and make free, like, pizzas. It was like now they call it, we in our tradition call it a subterranean heavenly planet, maybe heavenly, like heaven on earth. Free pizza, all young people, free liquor, 2 o'clock in the morning. Wow, who could have it better? For about 2 weeks. And then you start realizing all the people that have been working here a while, they go home. And the new employees stay. So 2 o'clock rolls around. Hey, you get a party tonight? So again, later on, you read the Bhagavad Gita. Pleasure, the mode of passion, is like nectar in the beginning, but poison at the end. So you have these experiences, you keep trying. Try different things. I grew up in Michigan, used to go skiing. It's like, well, yeah, it's fun, but you're freezing. Or my father used to have season tickets to the Detroit Lions, who were terrible back then. But we go and we watch a football game. I'm at a football game, I was probably 14. A guy died on the field. It's kind of well known. Doesn't happen very often. He hit wrong and something. He died. So there's like 60,000 people that are paying to watch this game, and a person dies in front of you. Like, what's going on in this place? There's something strange happening here. So all those different things happen. So then I started going to the Krishna temple. I started going to Buddhist retreats. I started hanging out with what they called in those days Jesus freaks. And there wasn't so much Islam in those days, so I didn't really get a chance to experiment with that. But I just became convinced these people are talking about much deeper topics. Actually, I studied philosophy for a while and became, political philosophy, then it led to religious, because like they're asking the deeper questions. Why do I have to die? So then, my stories, now some devotees say I walked in, I saw the deities, I knew that was the truth. Mine was like much more kind of a gradual thing. So I went and spoke to the Methodist minister when they said, how do you get rid of doubt? He said, you'll never get rid of doubt. I said, okay, check, that's it. Just like my professor on philosophy, let's discuss the truth. We don't know the truth, you'll never know the truth. Okay, bye. And then, so I became really convinced that there's some truth. There's something higher than what most people, Jesus said, don't lay up your treasures where dust and moth corrupt. That's a powerful message. Hare Krishnas are saying, this world's not the reality, it's something else. And so many things like that. So then, one other part, I went and visited all my family members. I had girlfriend, I went back and visited my old girlfriends. I went back to each of those places, like with my parents. They had bought a new house up in Michigan on a lake. So I went and I spent some time with them. Beautiful beach, my parents, I love them dearly, and I asked myself, if somehow or other I had the power to stop time, so this moment, I could capture this moment, me and my mom and my dad on the beach in the summer, and it's a beautiful night. If I could stop time and keep this moment forever, are you happy? No, I'm not happy right now. Then why do you want to stay and struggle to create that moment that you can't even keep? And even if you could, you'd be happy. Okay, go on. I went back and visited some old girlfriends. they'd already moved on in their lives. But it was like, okay, or I went back and visited with some friends. Again, sorry to all the bar scenes, but you know, when I was 18, when they passed the law, they made the drinking age 18, so it was a big deal. They had all these big dance bars. So we got this, you know, big dance bar, and there's a really kind of a famous band. There's 400 people playing. Everybody's, you know, slightly intoxicated, feeling good, as they say, and you're with your friends. It's 12 o'clock at night, and the music, and say, okay, if I could stop time, I asked myself this, if I could stop time, be with these people in this place right now. This is like the peak experience of that age group at that time. You know, if I could stop it and be here permanently, are you actually happy right now? No, I'm not. Okay, then go. Gotta go somewhere else. I visit my aunt, I visit my sister, I visit my brother, I visit my parents, I visit my friends. Every like place that was meaningful for me. And that's it. Because I knew my mind's gonna trick me. Because I could tell between the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible and everything, I gotta go on a mission. I don't know what I'm gonna find. I might not find anything, but I gotta look. Because what I'm doing is not gonna take me where I need to go. And then just to convince myself, I went back to those places. And it was like, nah, you gotta move on. So then I left, traveled across the country for a couple years, not a couple years, couple months, and I ended up in Colorado. I had met a young woman, just a casual acquaintance in the afternoon when I was in Ann Arbor. She told me, if you're actually serious about spirit, because I was like talking to anybody and everybody, see what they could tell me at that time about spiritual life. She said, if you're serious about spiritual life, you should go to Boulder, Colorado. And I know that I wasn't really serious, because if I was really serious, I would have got a message like Radhanath Swami got, and I would have been told to go to the Himalayas or India, but I was not ready for that, you know, so I just got the message, go to Boulder. So I traveled around for a couple months, and it kind of further convinced me material life was just not going to make me happy. And I went to Boulder, and I lived with some Buddhists for a while. And I remember I camped out in the backyard of this Buddhist place, and there was one woman there, and I remember asking, I said, you just came back from retreat for 2 weeks with some big teacher. Can you tell me what you learned? And she was like picking flowers or something. She said, well, the first thing we learned is you should just do one thing at a time. And right now I'm picking flowers, so maybe we can talk later. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, you wanted to retreat for 2 weeks, and you came back so hard-hearted. Mm-hmm. You can't take 2 minutes and tell me what you know, I'm like an enthusiastic, I'm like a seeker. Share with me what she did, you know. Maybe she's not a reflection of that tradition, but that's what she had learned. Like, okay, check off the box for me. And then I went, and then I had an opportunity to visit. I went and lived. I've been seeing devotees on and off, so I decided I would try to live in the temple for a week. I stayed for a week, and they said, "Do you want to stay?" I said, "I'm not convinced it's true yet, but I'm not convinced it's false. So I need to stay longer." And they said, "Okay," for a while. And that night, I promised myself, I hope I can keep this up for the next 2 hours or 2 days or 2 decades I have. I promised myself, not myself, I prayed, dear Krishna, dear Rama, dear Allah, dear Jehovah, dear Buddha, whoever you are. I don't know who you are, but I'm really seeking you as the purpose of this life. And I don't know if this is the best place I should be. I really don't know what you want me to do. I'm just trying. And I promised, I said, I'm going to stay here unless I find something better, spiritually. I'm not going back to college. I'm not going back to my job. I'm not going back to my family. I'm not going back to my girlfriend. I'm not going back to Michigan. I'm only going forward. I'm not going to have a hard time and decide to go back. I'm not going back. I'm only going forward. So that's the long version. There's a small crowd, and I can bore a small group of people. I wouldn't have gotten into all the detail with a larger group. But yeah, that's my story. And it's interesting to talk to different people. The ways that Krishna attracts us, it's so different. Because I've taught seminars and things in different parts of the world. I remember a lady in Australia, and she just described as she walked, there's a Western person, no exposure to deities. She walked into the temple and saw the deities, and she just knew this is the truth. A lot of people that don't experience, they walk in, it's like, wow, you guys worship flowers here, huh? You know, they don't see anything else. You know, they just see flowers. They don't see there's a form up there. That, you know, they're covered over. You know, and other people, they hear the mantra and they realize, wow, this is special. Or a lot of people come, you know, they're attracted to Prasadam. And I told this story the other night. I was in Denver not too long ago. I went back to visit, and there was a young woman, 25-ish or so, chanting really enthusiastically during the kirtan. And after I gave the talk and then happened to sit down to her, there was a spot next to her when they served the feast. So I sat down and started talking to her and asked her how long you've been coming. And I noticed you were really enthusiastic. You really like to chant. She said, I just love to chant. I've been coming for a few months. And I just kind of said the natural thing. I said, well, you know, this mantra is not different from God. She said, I don't believe in God. Just like that. And it was like, whoa, okay.
Chill.
And you know, 10 minutes earlier, or 20, she's just, and she told me how much she loved it. She don't want to hear about God. I said, that's okay, we'll talk about something else. So she's attracted to mantra, but not God. Somebody else they come and hear about, you know, so that's God and he's dancing and everybody there thinks that he's with them alone. That's the kind of God I want. Or even Nietzsche, you know, the famous, I guess he's considered an atheist. He said, I'll worship a God who dances. Something like that. Worship or accept or serve. If there's a God that dances, I'll accept that God. I don't want any other God. So there's a God that dances. I don't think you ever had a chance to hear about Vaishnavas, but so different people attracted different. Krishna's all attractive. So some people, you know, they read so many books and they get convinced by the philosophy. Different things. So that was a long version. So your husband asked a question. You have a question? I can try to give a more succinct answer.
No, I don't have any question.
No questions at all? You're purely devoted to Krishna then? You're convinced and purely devoted?
100%, no doubt.
You have no doubt. I need more of your association, the two of you. I'm still struggling with doubt, but faith is gradually going away. Anybody else? Any questions or comments? I know it's late and it's midweek. I apologize for that. Maybe one more question, then we should quit.
Lost track of time.
Yes, and I appreciate you coming late. I just, because I'm going to, we didn't get into the whole reason I'm here, but anyway, I'm visiting a whole bunch of temples like one day. You know, I was in Columbus for 2 days actually, Cincinnati one day, here one day, like that. So, you had a question or comment?
Yes, Prabhuji. I have a question. So Prabhupada writes, dance me however you want, Krishna. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, Prabhupada has a complete faith on Krishna.
Yes.
And because of him, he
Yeah,
came
he
to
says
Boston.
that at the end, right? I'm very fallen and useless, but I have faith in the holy name of Krishna.
Yes, yeah.
I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge. I mean, he went on to write dozens of books, studying universities all around the world, but he says, I have no knowledge.
Yeah.
I have no devotion, but I have faith. So,
Yeah, but in my life, I'm completely opposite. And so Prabhupada knew that Krishna has planned for me something, so he's driving me. But in my life, I take my decisions like decisions for, and I messed up things somewhere. I'm getting a problematic situation, and then realize I completely messed up.
didn't realize?
And then I realized I completely messed up.
Okay.
And oh Krishna, please save me now. So in Prabhupada's case, from the beginning, Prabhupada was with Krishna. But in my situation, I created some problems, I made some bad decision, and now I'm asking Krishna to please help me.
Okay.
So in that situation, how
You
would
sound
I...
like the rest of us.
So in that situation, how would I understand like Krishna has a plan for me, or I am working around his plan? So how would I get that sign so I can get my belief on Krishna?
Well, Krishna's plan, the big plan, is to fulfill our desire to come into this material world and allow us to pursue whatever it is we want. Right? Prabhupada, in a few places, comments, Krishna is so kind, he'll let us go to hell. Which is kind of an oxymoron, right? It's like, how is that kindness? but it's because he gives that free will. So his plan for you and for all of us is to get us out of here. But in the meantime, I mean, it's like Prabhupada sometimes gives an example too, like a child. The parents take the child and they play on the beach. They build their sandcastles. So you can say, what's the parent's plan? Well, the parent doesn't really care if you build a drawbridge or a 2-story castle or a 1-story castle. But the parent's plan is the tide's coming in, the sun's going down, and we're going to go home at the end of the day. So you play as long as you want, but eventually, you know, and you can come back tomorrow and make another sandcastle you want, and that was going to be destroyed, and that was going to be destroyed. So, in one sense, the plan here is really our plan. That's our free will. I want this, I want that. So Krishna's fulfilling those desires, but his plan for us is to help us understand that we can't really be happy here. So in this verse we read last night about, in the Ishopanishad, I don't remember the exact way Prabhupada phrased it, but he mentions that, you know, the difficulties we experience is Krishna's mercy. So when you, boy, I made some bad decisions. Everybody's made some bad decisions, and will continue to make a mixture of good decisions and bad decisions, because it's all about helping us understand that the only real decision I need to make is to try to accept Krishna. And as long as we maintain some material desires, which we all have, we're distracted by so many different things. But gradually, one by one, we realize this is just a distraction. You know, like the kind of phrase they use these days, bucket list, right? They kind of make fun. Everybody has to have a bucket list. What's on your bucket list? Well, I want to go to Istanbul. Okay, so okay, go to Istanbul. You get you get a pickpocket, steals all your money, and then there's bed bugs in the hotel, and then they burn your breakfast, and then the plane's late, and then you have to, you wanted a window seat, but they moved you to a middle seat, and you go home feeling really miserable. Now your friends ask you how was it? You say, oh, it was great. It was fantastic. You probably would like to go, wouldn't you? And all these false ego things come in, right? We all know, you meet people like that, How was your vacation? Oh, it was just absolutely wonderful. And then you find out they spent 2 days in the airport because they missed their flight, whatever. So then you just realize, okay, it wasn't Istanbul. Then when I lived in Denver, I remember clearly one time we were going, I think, to India. So we left Denver, and there's a big sign, enjoy Honolulu, like the beach. And this, like, wow, I can only make enough money to go to Honolulu. So we flew from there to LA. We were there for like about a day. I think I saw another, I can't remember, there was another sign flying in Honolulu. Then we landed in Honolulu and walked on a plane. Ski Denver. So I just came from Denver. Everybody in Denver wants to come here. And they come here, you tell me to go there. Make up your mind. So it's described as like chewing the chewed. We keep trying to. I mean, there's just so many things. That's why we read this verse last night.
Yeah.
One who cultivates knowledge of transcendence and nescience side by side, they can taste immortality. So, we have to, like, the experiences you're going through, we shouldn't, in addition to feeling bad because we made some bad decisions, okay, we should think, okay, what did I learn from this bad decision? Well, one, not to make the bad decision again. Okay, and two, that this world is full of bad decisions, because ultimately, from a transcendental point of view, they're all bad decisions. It's kind of like, you committed a crime, you walk into the jail, and they lock you up for a month. Okay, does it matter? You sleep on the bunk on the left, the bunk on the right, you shower in the morning, shower in the afternoon. Just sit at that table. It's all bad. I mean, it's a little harsh, but that's the way the acharyas see things. And at the same time, it's Krishna's energy, so we can spiritualize it. If you're in jail, just a harsh example, if you're in jail and you use the time in jail to chant Hare Krishna and to offer whatever little bit of vegetarian food they'll give you, and to tell the people in this place about Krishna, and to try to get a copy of a Bhagavad Gita or something scriptural, then you've perfected your time in the jail. You're better off in jail than the guy who's outside thinking he's having a good time, because he's not connecting with Krishna. So don't lament the decision you made. Learn from those in a practical way in terms of how to live in this world. Try not to make the same mistake again, but always remember that whatever I do, I'll just end with this as a real nice thing that sometimes people say. Maybe it's a Christian thing, I don't know, but it's nice. It works for us too. Dear Lord, please let me act as if everything depended upon me, and let me pray knowing that everything actually depends upon you.
I was just thinking
Isn't that
about
nice?
this.
You know, you have to, it's like, Krishna, mow my lawn. The lawn needs, Lord, can you take care of the lawn for me? You have to mow the lawn. But then you're out mowing the lawn thinking, this is my lawn, it's so beautiful. And next thing you know, like the engine breaks. And you realize, actually, it's not my lawn, it's Krishna's lawn. But I have to so you go and you fix the lawn, you come back, Krishna, please let me mow the lawn for you. And then you mow the lawn for him. Isn't it? Let me mow the lawn for you. Let me pay the bills for you. Let me deal with this. I have such a terrible boss. Okay, it's my karma, whatever. It's your gift to me to help me realize this is not a nice place. Let me learn to be a humble devotee in the presence of this boss you sent me to learn how to become humble and tolerant, and let me try to do it for you. And then Prabhupada says, I quoted last night, Prabhupada said, to become Krishna conscious, it's such a beautiful, it says, become Krishna conscious and enjoy life with a thrill at every moment. So like, oh, that was a dumb mistake. Boy, that was a great chance to learn. Or they really yelled at me. Whew, I wonder what karma I'm burning off there. Isn't it? Or I stubbed my toe. Okay, one less minute of suffering now it's gone, it's over. I get out of the material world like that. Yeah, everything can become. And this is the vision of our acharyas. And they have this painting. Again, I'll stop it. So God, the creator of the whole universe, the universe is, this is the theory. Prabhupada says the Gita, think of it as a theory. So there's a personality behind everything that's unlimitedly beautiful, unlimitedly knowledgeable, unlimitedly opulent, unlimitedly renowned, the 6 qualities of the Lord. It's such the universe is coming out of the pores of his expansion. We're talking somebody big, right? This is a big person. And he's inviting me to be part of his, play. As a cowherd boy or a cowherd girl or a tree that is fully conscious, or, that's my potential. In this life, it's like, hey, get a good job, make a little bit of money, and then when you retire, maybe you got 10 years to spend it, and, and then put a nice stone over you. Right? That's what they do in America generally, right? But they're running a land, so now even they're cremating people here. So then a few people can come and dump your ashes in the lake, and then those people's ashes get dumped in the lake. Nobody remembers your ashes are there. Even they put a stone up, in a few years the stone wears away. You see these old cemeteries? The stone's worn away, then the stone gets knocked over. What kind of impact is that? But then this is wow, that's a lot more. If you're gonna go for something, like they say, right, go for the gusto, go for it, all these slogans. Look at that, we can go for that. That looks worth trying for. Right? That looks like putting your heart into it. That's worthwhile putting your heart into it. So that's what Prabhupada's talking about here. This one person is phenomenal. This one person opened up all those realities for us. Those of you from India, you had some options, but even like you said, you grew up here next to the temple, but then you came here or whatever, it's like it's gone. Right? So he gave the opportunity to wake that up again. So it's quite phenomenal. And again, to have a historian of religion say he's compared to Jesus and Muhammad, but actually they had, in a sense, easier. It's like, wow. And we're here. What is 40 years, 50 years after he left, and we have the chance to take advantage of those teachings. What to speak of carried on, what to speak of giving it to others. That's pretty special.
It's the network effect that God created, right?
The what effect?
The network effect, right?
Yeah, it's a network effect.
It's a devotee network.
So we're part of that network. It's not a cheap thing. It's very, very special.
Time check.
What's that?
Time check.
It's also important.
It's time to
Time.
stop. Yes.
Spiritual word.
Yes, we
Time is
stop.
inconspicuous by
Definitely
its
stop.
absence.
Yeah, Krishna says time I am. So shut that thing off and we can stop. I was just going on because he had the camera on, you know.
On cue.
Okay.
This was wonderful.
Very nice to be with everybody tonight.
Please let us thank His Grace Anuttama Prabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So some of us haven't eaten yet, and
Yes,
some of us want to go home.
exactly. They have a 1 hour drive almost.
1 hour drive to where?
About from their home
like-
to their home.
40 minutes.
In this same city?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Different city.
What city?
I mean, Indianapolis.
Because we're in.
We're in
where-
Westfield.
Very nice.
This is Westfield.
Okay, which is like a suburb, right? So you're like on the other side of town or something.